So Marcel, before we start the official thing, how are you today? Any good?
Yes, thank you very much. Very excited. A lot going on. Just had an awesome team call before with the updates, the roadmap. Everyone showed what they're working on. And, I can't tell too much, obviously. Should be a little bit secretive, but it's really going to be nice.
Perfect. I think we'll talk about the roadmap again in more depth, like in one of the next AMAs. Today we will be focused on the change plans for phase 2. And
exactly.
Perhaps some guiding rules. We also did some kind of improvements compared to last time. So first, in terms of sound quality, you should already hear it. Second is we have AMA station channel, which is one of the only one that is unmuted right now. So you can write your questions in there, and then I'll pick it up. Generally, we'll start with a few prepared questions that we discussed before, guide you through the new phase 2 process, answer a few of the obvious questions. Then I will pick the questions that you have wrote all day long today already. And then I'll pick the new questions, and people who want to come on stage, ask a question directly to Marcel, then we'll give you we invite you on the voice stage, kind of, okay? And we'll also do a recording, so this session will be available on demand shortly after we finish today.
Great, exactly.
Good. We have 26 people right now. We started a bit earlier than last time. I think it's not a perfect time today, but as mentioned, you will always be able to hear and later on with the on-demand version. So, Marcel, let's get started. I think you had a busy few days recently now with this changed plan for the IDOs, and I think this was always the main question in the past AMAs, like when will we see phase 2 originally planned for THORchain? Is it going to happen this year? Is it going to happen next year? And when can we claim the tokens from phase 1? And so on and so forth. And so perhaps we start with a short explanation from your side about why actually the THORchain IDO has been now not only postponed, but actually be replaced by a different mechanic for now. So what's the underlying reason? Because originally we thought it will happen short time before Christmas, but the THORchain team said IDOs are not longer priority 1. And perhaps you can give us a few insights on this.
Yes, absolutely. So for some of you, you probably already know, especially if you follow the THORchain dev channel, Discord server, there were basically all the discussion going on, and the Tor Wallet team, we were listening and reading the comments all the time, right? And figuring out contingency plans and so on. So basically what happens is, as you know, we had to push back our IDO before for the reasons I do not need to dive into right now again, but they were explained before. And we were given a pretty clear range when we can launch, and that's what we communicated. And at the time of the communication, this was, pretty clear and solid that we could launch. And pretty much at this same time, those talks started to rise in the dev channel, where the community basically pushed the core THORchain team to delay, and this discussion got more steam over the days. And basically the opinion that right now THORchain should favor liquidity of layer 1 assets should be weighted more than IDOs for the ecosystem. That opinion got I would say more votes in the end, and we didn't heavily invest in discussing, but we're just focusing on, okay, let's get into action with our contingency plan, which would be the Miso launch, right? And then we just communicated, okay, guys, now we're gonna do that. So as a summary, the idea is basically that THORchain should right now focus on the raise the caps should be filled basically with layer one assets like Bitcoin, wrapped Bitcoin, new chains like Terra, which are highly productive pools. Deeper pools there make sense because you will have less slippage, and productive pools generate more fees, which is interesting obviously for the liquidity providers, but also for the Tor nodes. And we need to grow the ecosystem. We need more Tor nodes and more liquidity providers. Hence, it makes sense to, focus on that if the Torchain ecosystem wants to grow. Clearly, the ecosystem also needs interfaces and ecosystem projects to grow. We're kind of a multiplier for the ecosystem, attracting new clients and then users. But right now, around 1/3 of the assets of Torchain are Xrule and Tor, so ecosystem projects, and with like 1-2 more ecosystem project that might end up to 50-50 or even more, and that's probably not so good because those pools are very deep but have not so much trading activity there relative to the size, and also
May I throw in a number here just for reference? Like the Tor Rune pool, for example, is more than $40 million deep and has like a trading volume of like a few $100K per day, just as a comparison. Okay, so it's a very deep pool and quite shallow daily volume.
Exactly, and this doesn't generate fees, which are needed for liquidity providers to make it attractive for liquidity providers and for node operators to join Torchain as a whole ecosystem. And obviously layer one tokens or like Binance Smart Chain, Terra, Bitcoin, those are the ones who are frequently traded, right? You can check those statistics. So we understand that argument. We want the best for the Torchain ecosystem. And we don't see except a little bit of stress on our end, and of course the participants or our Tor Wallet community that now had another change. Besides that, we believe that Miso is really a battle-tested option and a fair IDO. Maybe I can.
Yeah, thank you, Marcel. Just a question in between, or another fact in between, like Tor Wallet is also not the only affected platform from this, right? DeFi Spot also wanted to do their launch on Torchain itself. And this kind of shows the two different ways that would have been possible, right? Option A, kind of postpone until next year, Q1 2022, which this is what DeFi Spot did, and option B is right to do it relatively soon this year and choose an alternative way how to do it. Correct?
Correct. And basically, the reasoning why we don't want to postpone it, like DeFi Spot is doing, there are a couple of reasons. First of all, we don't want, they're now not ordered as priorities. I just give you all the different reasons. Participants of the phase 1 IDO on Tor Starter, they shouldn't wait any longer and should receive the TGT. So that's one reason why it should happen sooner than later. I think it's a competitive advantage as well if the token is already out, especially since our app is already in production and deserves to have a working token. It's a key element in the token economics and the app to attract new users, to generate fees, etc. So again, a good reason to not postpone it further. Then it's kind of unclear, right? How is the market situation in 3 months? From now, no one knows. 3 months is like 3 years in normal life. And basically, option B is with Miso is a proven process. XDeFi, another ecosystem partner, has done it successfully. Raised like 19.5 million I think it was a public sale, right? And the Dutch auction just soon after. Everyone, or a lot of people in the community are familiar with the process. And yeah, basically it's just a fair way to go. And that's why we decided to execute on that plan.
Yeah, perfect. So thank you. I think we might get a few more questions also in from the community regarding the reasoning. Might dive deeper into this. Before we discuss like Miso itself, can you give us a bit of a timeline now for phase 2 and phase 3 based on the current plans? So when will Miso launch, and when will be the Sushi Swap pool available?
Yes, so those dates are now set. It's the 20th of December when the Miso launch will happen. It will run for 30 hours, and basically as soon as possible, the day after we launch the Sushi pool, so the trading of the coin, one day after. Yeah. And until then, so it's like 12, 11 more days. We have a packed heavy marketing plan on top of it to, first of all, reactivate our community to get everyone aware that now it's happening, but also, again, attract over our boundaries to other communities and get them aware of our idea.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So we talked a bit about the reasoning for option B, which is kind of doing it now, actually this year, phase 2. Now let's talk a bit about the reasoning for why Miso, right? My understanding is that you have looked at different alternatives in terms of platforms that could be used for launching, and not just like opening a pool, what happened traditionally.
Right.
So why did you decide to go with Miso? Sushi Swap Miso.
Yeah, so we also had a look at Balancer and then Copper, who builds on Balancer, like the bootstrapping pool. Also a very solid way to launch a token. For those not familiar, it also has the option. So basically, it's very similar to a DOC auction with a declining price. Correct me if I'm wrong, Archon here, but then you also have the chance to sell your token again. So also at a certain point of time, if a lot of people are buying into the launch, then the price will rise, and then you also have again the possibility to sell your token all during the launch, and that's not possible on a Dutch auction. And since that's actually for some legal reasons, because we want to be and are compliant here in Switzerland. Some of our tokens are already in circulation. In theory, they could sell their tokens on a Balancer pool, and that would be unfair and will potentially risk everything. So rather quickly, we had to abandon that idea. Which is no problem because we're actually really, really happy with Miso. It's a battle-proven system. As mentioned before, XDeFi has used it. It's really easy later on to migrate the pools to Sushi Swap afterwards, which we intended to do anyway. So yeah, it's from a process perspective and business perspective, it's a wise and good choice, I would say.
And I'm picking up a question right now also from the chat that was talking about like, why does your community not get the ability to buy DGT at a kind of discount? Her question is, what is a discount here? But that brings us directly to the question how the Dutch auction works. What does the starting price mean? What does the reserve price mean? And how is this price like going down over time?
Right. So maybe let's start with that first, and then I can jump into the community question. So basically, the idea of the Dutch auction is that it runs for a certain amount of time. With us, it's 30 hours. It starts at the starting price, which right now is $1.50. We gathered some feedback from the community, and some ask it should be a little bit higher. So we're open to that. Why did we choose $1.50? Because it's 20x from 7.5 cents, then there is an argument that like Xrune or Tor Tgt 30x, so it should start a bit higher. That 1.50 is actually a price it could end up. Fair point. I see that. But yeah, the idea is that you start with a starting price, then in a linear basis, it will reduce to the reserve price, which is 7.5 cents with us. That's the price of the last private round we had, 75 million valuation. And basically you can choose whenever you want to buy an ape in. So let's say it has reduced to $1.20, and now you think, that's the fair price I think TGT should have. That's your perspective. You could also think this is the fair price the community thinks it is, and then you just buy. There is an allocation of 20 million TGT. The auction will continue. The price will reduce on a linear basis, like minute by minute or block by block. And basically the last transaction, when the 20 million TGTs are used up, let's say it's 75 cents, then everyone who participated so far will enjoy the last price, the cheapest price of the 75 cents. So that's why it's also called a very fair auction. Of course, there is the chance that some FOMO sets in, as you might think, okay, now I have the risk of losing out, and you want to get an allocation for sure. As example, if you think, well, for me the fair price is 60 cents and it never ends up there, you might end up with no allocation at all.
But perhaps let me repeat just some of the hard facts here. Like, it's very important that you don't have to buy at the starting price, right? That's very important. And you kind of give a bid to based on a fair price you want to buy, but everybody ends up buying at the same price. It's the same as second phase of the XDeFi auction. So that's quite important to know. Right? You give the bid, you have to commit your USDC, but you end up with the price or that everybody ends up. Therefore, it's kind of referred to a fair launch or fair raise mechanic, and it's a good tool, right, to get a fair price discovery in the end. And you claim your tokens at the end of the auction. You don't get them directly.
Exactly. And then basically the clearance price will be, the clearance price of the auction will be the starting price of the Sushi pool.
Yeah. And perhaps we can say a few words now regarding the question that came up, like why is there no discount price? Yeah.
So, a couple of things there. So first, if you remember rightly, we increased our Tor starter allocation from initially 0.2% to 2%, like 20 million TGT, where you were able to get them at 2.5 cents. Like, this is there are not many projects, I think, where you get the price of the first initial private round for the whole community to buy in. So that's basically, one major reason that the whole community already had a chance there, and we increased the supply there 3 times in a row to meet the huge demand. All right. Then basically it's also important to know how, now this is actually another fundraise, right?
Marcel, hello. You still here? I think we lost him. I hope you can still hear me. If yes, somebody please write something in the AMA station channel.
Or is it better now? Can you hear me now?
I can hear you again, yeah. But the sound is a bit different.
My battery just died. Is it?
Yeah, I think quality is a bit worse now. Perhaps you can switch to push to talk.
Yeah, one second. I figure out.
Yeah, and perhaps try to answer a question that came up in the AMA station channel already. How much are you actually looking to raise in Miso from Lobster Persona? And actually, it's 20 million TGT that will be committed to this Dutch auction, resembling kind of 2% of the total supply. And how much this ends up with is obviously based on like what the community or what the users and the participants are thinking regarding a fair price, and the team cannot know that, but you will see it at the end of the auction.
Now I'm back.
Yes,
I think you should hear me well.
Yes, it's good now again. Thank you.
Okay, perfect, awesome. Thanks for jumping in. So another thing I wanted to mention at this point is obviously a Dutch auction is like of another race, right? And the rationale behind that is before with the Tor chain pool we would have ended up with a rather big liquidity, and then for the next 3-4 years we would have had the chance to sell some TGT from our treasury to fund our growth, right? Without harming the price too much if you do it in a smart way. So it's a different kind of process. Now we went for an option where we raise the funds in advance, we put it in the treasury, we take care of it, and then this fund is used for development of the next 3-4 years. Why such a long time? Because you don't really know if a bear cycle does come, it could end up coming, and it could take 3-4 years. You don't want a good project to die just because it didn't raise enough funds, right? So that's basically the rationale behind that. To do another raise, and it's just another process, and like that, we do not need the liquidity pool we would have had at Tor chain.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. And now we pretty much went through the process on Miso. It's pretty self-explanatory, but you already wrote an article about it, so please check it out on Medium. There are also very good YouTube videos out there that explain how it works, and to also create more material to really guide you through the process on Miso. But I think it will be a relatively smooth experience. And just to throw in some personal perspective, the original plan has been like a Tor chain ways without a separate user interface. And I think for any buyer, from a buyer's lens, participating in this would have been much more complicated than it is now on Miso. For example, you're also relatively soon, like you commit your fair price, and you relatively soon know what price you are getting at, and this transparency would not have been possible on the same level on Tor chain itself.
Absolutely.
But another question that follows now: when will TGT then be available on Tor chain?
Yeah, very good question. Well, we're a Tor chain ecosystem project with Tor chats. We want to be on Tor chain as soon as it's allowed to do so, basically. So, rough estimate is somewhere in Q1, but we are in close contact, and whenever it makes sense, we will do so. So we will end up there, and we will have a pool, that's for sure.
Yeah, perfect. So let's move to some of the community questions that are related to the IDO now. There was one comment to first have a kind of a crowd sale or batch sale for the community to a fixed price, and then only do the Dutch auction comparable to what XDeFi did. But kind of you already did something similar on Tor Starter, right? Or what's the reason why you start directly with the Dutch auction?
Yeah, that's exactly the reason. Pretty much because we already did that with a pretty large allocation there. So you always need to consider to have a healthy circulating supply, and that would just increase it too much, and then also that would put sales pressure on the token. So those two reasons basically.
So you kind of decide now it's time to get into price discovery that will also lead then to the starting price on the phase 3 Sushi pool, which is then available for everybody.
Exactly.
There's one comment from somebody who said like he's kind of here to make money, either by like selling tokens from phase 1 or like aping in very early into the THORChain pool, which might be difficult because there are also bots involved, and he's a bit disappointed based on the Miso sale. So, what can you answer on that, or what also in terms of the reasoning for doing a raise at all? And it's not probably for people making money directly with it, right?
Well, fair enough that he's so honest, saying that he's just here for the money. Obviously, I prefer people who are in the project for the long term, but it's irrational to be here. Fair point. As you just mentioned, I'm not sure if it's very realistic if you would compete with a bot, and then also there, if you have good skills, you can send directions directly with a memo to the nodes and so on, and you're again quicker than everyone else using an interface. So from a participant's perspective, it's actually much better to have an IDO on or an auction on Miso, especially since our suggestions how to remember we did a vote. Should we postpone and then we build an interface that makes the experience smoother, so at what price you ape in a THORChain launch, and the community said no, we don't want that. Without that, it's pretty much a black box at what price you buy. You can play with different financial metrics, pool sizes, and so on to smoothen the process, but it's still a black box. So that makes it a bit different and difficult for him to to say that he can ape in early. And don't forget, now for him, he wants to sell, looks like he wants to sell TGT he got from phase 1. Fair point. I mean, he can still do that in the Sushi pool. If you look how XDeFi performed, they were also
no, I think he actually tried to go in very early in phase 2 and then sell based on the price appreciation.
I see. Yeah. Fair point. I think for the bigger part of the community, it makes sense to participate in the IDO here, and it's a much smoother, better experience overall, and you don't have the risk of a dump later on. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we should really finalize the questions regarding the phase 2 on Miso right now. So if you have any question related to that, write it in the AMA station, or I will pick you now to come on stage, and afterwards we will continue with all questions that are not centered on this Miso Dutch auction. Okay, so I see Tor Dom and Data Fillings. They are both raising their hand. Perhaps Marcel and Red Alligator too. You can pick those three.
Yeah, sure. I quickly go to Red Alligator. Yeah, you should be able to speak now.
Hello again. Seen you last time too. Great to see you coming back.
I think you're still unmuted.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Hi, and thanks first of all for moving so quickly to adapt and get your token out. I wanted to know a little bit about how you plan, if you still plan to incentivize holders. I think the initial plan was to either buy back or donate to the THORChain pool. I'm not sure. Do you guys still have plans for that? How will emissions work, generally speaking, if that has changed? Thanks.
Sorry, I'm not 100% sure because it was cut off a little bit.
I think it was about like incentives for holders / stakers / LPs How will this go if there's no Woon TGT pool?
All right. Yes. So we will have the one-sided. We will have incentive. So what incentive do we have? One-sided TGT staking, which starts at 800% and then will slowly reduce. You can do that directly through our app. Since Android is not there yet, you can also then do it directly on Etherscan. We show you how to do it, make a little video, so no issue there. Then there is also the Tgt Ethereum Pool on Sushi, and there we start with 1,200% API, which is then also slowly reduced to do that. So then basically the only thing different, before in the THORchain IDO, you would have directly entered the pool, 50% Rune, 50% TGT. Now basically you would have the choice do you want to move your TGT you get in the Miso launch, do you want them to do one-sided staking, or do you go into the Ethereum pool on Sushi? So basically you have that option and then you can decide, but percentage-wise it will be the same.
And perhaps that's also a big difference between like Miso and the original plan, right? In the original plan, you would have ended up with a liquidity position on THORchain, 50% Rune, 50% DGT, and of course you would be able to withdraw that position and then take the DGT and do single-side staking. Now, after Miso, you end up with the DGT token that is claimable, and then you can directly do single-side staking, or then decide to provide liquidity to the Sushi Swap pool and get incentives for that. So that's kind of what the end result is different now.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. So you can pick Tor Dom.
Yeah.
And Pool's key. No, he's not longer raising his hand. Data Fillings is raising his hand. Hello, Tor Dom. You can talk.
Yeah, I think on the mic, different sound than when we were in audience. But yeah, great to be here. Thanks for putting this call together. So my question was about, so when you have this Miso's auction, what happens right after that? So you come up with a pool, and what does team do to put liquidity into the sushi pool, or how would it work right after the auction?
All right. So right after the auction ends, you on your side, you can claim your TGT. We on our end, at Tor Wallet end, we will set up the Sushi pool. We will put liquidity there, Ether and TGT, and then basically trading there begins at the clearing price of the auction. And then you can decide to, as just mentioned before, do you want to liquidity provide there, or do you want to do single-sided staking?
Okay. So my question was, so for example, with a couple of IDOs, I have seen that when you put liquidity in the Sushi swap, maybe the valuation skyrockets, or maybe also it could be the other way around. So can you tell me the factors? Sorry if it's out of context, but could you shed some light on the factors which make that happen?
Well, I can generally speaking. Yeah. So generally speaking, if there is a huge unlock of massive amounts of tokens from private investors or teams, then they could dump, which is a sell pressure on the price. And this means there was no healthy circulating supply in the beginning. And we are very aware of that fact. And as mentioned before, we have somewhere between 12 and 14% circulating supply at the very beginning. Those are reasons or things you can do to prevent such drastic price drops. And on the other hand, if you announce news and if you incentivize a lot of people to stake their TGT as example. So I give you another reason. Personally, I believe if you want to use the app in the future, this is the best opportunity to get TGT at a fair, rather cheap price for staking your community, get your community tier or community plus, or get a general NFT or a commander NFT. Because with every app download, the more user we have, the TGP gets more expensive because of our token economics. If this is understood well by the community, those who actually want to use the app, I don't think they will sell. It doesn't make sense because later on they would need to buy back the tokens for the community tiers at the higher price. But yeah, for those who are here just for the money, sure, they can sell. But generally, the allocation and the circulating supplies is very important for what price action can happen at the launch, and we just make the most possible out of it to make it a success.
And I think one reason for Miso is that it already gives some price discovery, right? So the chances for like large deviations then when the Sushi pool is live are at least a bit mitigated.
Yeah, and adding to that, to the point where you said that holding TGT you could allocate into community or community plus pools. If you could shed some light on what would be unlocked if you do that, and what are the pros of doing that? So yeah, just weighing different aspects.
So if you use our app, we have 3 different tiers, like the standard, the community, and the community plus. For standard, you stake nothing. For community, you stake 5,000 TGT. And for the community plus, you stake 50,000 TGT. And you get reduced trading fees when you're in the different tiers. You get different fees, lower fees when you add liquidity, provide liquidity. And as example, we have mission rewards, kind of refer a friend, do swaps at a certain volume and so on. And you get TGT rewards. And if you are in Community Plus, you get double the reward of that. You unlock premium features within the app if you are a Community or Community Plus tiers. So I encourage you to check out the full spectrum of the benefits to be in a higher tier on the website. And basically depends how much heavy of a user you will be, then you'll find the right tier for you.
Yeah. And one last question was, I'm sorry, do you want to take some other questions? I don't want to.
Perhaps the last one. I see a few more hands being raised.
Okay, so for example, as you mentioned that as applications, more and more applications download, the value of TGT gets higher. Sorry, I'm being a bit lazy here, but would you like explain? I mean, just like for a minute, how does that tokenomics work exactly?
Yeah, sure. It's actually pretty straightforward. The more downloads we have, the more user we have, the more people will swap in our app, the more fees we generate. And with 50% of the fees we generate, we buy back and burn TGT. So that's, that's good for the TGT price. On the other hand, the more downloads we have, the more users we have, the more will stake TGT to get into a tier, community or community plus. And those are then locked in, which reduces the supply, circulating supply in the market, which again is positive, leads to a positive price impact. So that's basically how you can connect downloads to users to price increase of the TGT.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your questions. Perhaps we take data fillings. And then hopefully we can move also to other questions.
Hey, Data Feelings.
Good morning.
Hi there.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm not very good with this push to talk thing, but I'll try to figure this out.
Just keep pushing.
Okay. So I totally understand the need for, moving forward, not waiting around for THORChain. I totally support that. I'm just curious with the decision to go with Miso, if there was other platforms considered, because I don't personally view Miso as a very fair platform. It's KYC, as far as I'm aware, for all their launches, which excludes millions of people, obviously. That's the biggest problem I have with Miso. Secondly, there's a lot of negative press around Sushi Swap right now that I'm sure you're probably aware of. So I was curious if you had talked over those kind of downsides and compared any other options or not.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. So, first of all, there is no KYC that I'm aware of. You need to fulfill. You connect your MetaMask and you provide your USDC, and you're good to go. Secondly, the Sushi team might have some turbulences right now, but that doesn't reflect on their, if you ask me, high quality product they delivered with the Sushi experience in general. Why shouldn't we use it if they have some internal troubles? I don't see a connection there. As a matter of fact, I think the user experience with Miso is super clean, super easy. It's really hard to do something wrong in comparison to how the IDO launch would have worked in the past with the other ecosystem project. It's actually much friendlier and easier to do. And the last point in regards to what we were looking at as well, we looked at Balancer and Copper as well. But this wasn't feasible because we have TGT already out there in some wallets, and they could interfere with the launch on Balancer. So that's basically why we ruled out from the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope this answers your questions, Data Feelings. Yeah, for example, I also participated in the XDeFi sale, and there was also no KYC. And the Miso contracts are out there, even if you have doubts in the kind of quality of the team or whatever. Like, it's a permissionless platform, and which is completely independent of what or how the people work there right now. Just my 2 cents on this. And perhaps we take Red Alligator again. Just this very short question, please. And then we move to other topics.
Yes, hi, thank you. My question is about the NFT. When we were minting the Soldier NFT, I think the contract just checked that we had the right amount of XRUN or TGT in our wallets. I'm wondering how it will work for the rest of the NFTs for people who are in the pool, especially in the Sushi pool, the Sushi Swap pool. Will you check for pool tokens, or we'd have to take the TGT out to mint? How would that work? Thanks.
Yeah, great question. So it's correct with the Soldier. You needed to hold 1,000 XRUN. Now, this was only because TGT wasn't available and to support our ecosystem partner, clearly. Now, to get a general and the commander, you need to hold the amount of TGT mentioned in your wallet at the time you are minting. The minting, we don't charge anything. You just need to pay the gas fees, but the minting per se is free. You just need to have that amount of TGT in the wallet, and we check if you have it in the wallet. So if you have it staked, you would need to unstake it, put it in your wallet, and then mint. Or maybe better, just do the minting first and then you put it in the staking contract to save some gas fees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so I think we can finish up the Miso discussion, and we move now to a few other questions, and we try to finish like in about 15 minutes. One short one came where you're still planning on honoring the 100 USDs in Tor from the last AMA. So I think you will, if there's any money outstanding, Marcel.
Absolutely.
Someone should just send you a DM and you will follow up, okay?
Yeah.
Then a question regarding the planned airdrop or retroactive airdrop plans and eligibility requirements for early users and supporters. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, right. So the airdrop will be, I would say, a little bit of a bigger project for us to make it a smooth experience and to make it worthwhile. As mentioned before, it will be, I would say, a rather substantial airdrop, as you have seen with other projects as well. And if you give out so much money, free money, you need to use it wisely. So basically, we want to convert it into downloads and so on, while at the same time giving the early users and so on, their like a thank you back to them. There most likely will be different kind of baskets where we can measure what you did. And there, the easiest thing for us, it's not super easy, you need to DEF and so on, but I would say that the thing we can actually measure is everything that happened on chain and not in testnet, but on mainnet. So as example, if you did a swap in mainnet while it was an early beta version, we know that Ethereum address as example, because you did an Ethereum swap there on that wallet. And those are things we can track, or if you provide liquidity. So those are things how we can go back basically in time and measure who did what. At the same time, we also want to encourage users, early users of our wallet that is now in the App Store, and we will track that. And when Android is coming, we will track that as well. But everything needs to be on chain for us to be trackable. And we will have it implemented nicely in our mission rewards. So we have like a mission rewards center in the app where you can accomplish certain missions and then you get rewarded. And once the airdrop is ready, you basically see to what you did in the past and if you're eligible to claim those TT. But as mentioned, this takes some time to prepare because we talk big money and this therefore needs to be planned accordingly with care.
Good, thank you for this. Then two very important questions that come up all the time, but because they're very relevant. Number one is, do you have any news regarding the timeline for Tor Wallet availability in the US App Store?
So we actually have a call maybe tomorrow or early next week with another lawyer to finalize that discussion. So I would say it's around the corner, but I don't want to give false, expectations with laws and lawyers. You never know. But yeah, it's. I think it's around the corner.
Okay. And the second question: when Android?
When Android? Yeah, right. So I would say end of the year. Maybe just after New Year's Eve, somewhere around that. But yeah, it's in the works. We're testing. I already have it on second phone, which is an Android, to play around. But it needs to be flawlessly. So just give us a little bit more time. But we are it's like priority number one right next to a successful IDO.
Yes, perfect. And there was a very interesting question, because last time we talked a bit about future alternatives to a native mobile app, and that you will also bring out a desktop or a web app. And this question was regarding if there are plans to integrate with apps and have a kind of a browser extension, like example competitor to MetaMask.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So long term, I would say definitely interesting. Right now, we want to focus on, as you just mentioned now, building a browser version as well, and then have a really neat and flawless integration with your wallet and like Wallet Connect. So you can, if you're on a laptop, you can access your Tor Wallet through the web browser, and if you're on the go, it's on the mobile phone, and it's one flawlessly nice ecosystem, and the tiers are always the same, your fees are the same, and basically knows who you are. This Wallet Connect integration and so on, we want to focus on that right now. But the idea of like browser extensions, so you can interact with smart contract through the app, we have discussed it in the team. We obviously would like it ourselves to use, and it's not on a concrete roadmap right now, but it could be in like the second half of 22 as example. So yeah, keep those ideas coming. We listen to them, discuss them, and then we put them also into action.
Yeah, great. Then regarding the NFT question, what are the future additional use cases for the Tor Wallet Soldier NFT? Also, we discussed this briefly last time. Perhaps you can repeat that question. And perhaps the second one was from Jort, I think. If there are plans to the Tor Wallet Soldier to count towards the community tiers, because right now it's a separate tier. So kind of instead of having like the 5,000 or more TGT staked, having 3,000 the Soldier. Perhaps you can clarify if you thought about that.
All right, great. Yeah, so as you know, they're the soldiers. Then you have the generals and the commanders, and you can always like upgrade. This is always a possibility, right? And we encourage you to do that, of course. Clearly, also the general has more benefits than the soldier, and the commander has more benefits than the commander. Right? That's also clear. When our community grows, right now, you know the numbers, but imagine we grow to a 50k to 100k active users, then suddenly being one of 20 commanders, one of 200 generals, or one of 2,000 soldiers is like it's clearly a distinction from everyone else, and those reduced trading fees will hit heavy. I think it's a good reason to have it. We also plan to, every now and then to give incentives away that are not foreseen right now, but you don't know exactly what happens in 6 months. But as I've mentioned in the army base, which is the chat only for NFT holders, we as Tor Wallet, we never where we come from and who the Tor Wallet army is, and that they're early supporters, and that they invested in buying an NFT early. So they always get kind of preferred treatment already. As a very simple example, the only channel that is not unmuted is the Tor army base, right? And the AMA station. So they're not muted. I'm regularly there answering questions myself late at night, listening and interacting with everyone. So those are things that will continue to be so and are more and more valuable. I would say when the community And maybe as a last hint, yes, we also plan to have some mission rewards in the app that are tied to holding an NFT as a soldier, as example.
Yeah, perfect. That answers it very well, I think. Regarding Android,
sorry.
Regarding Android, will there be a beta test available for people? Because many said they would want to test it or would want to help with testing.
Let me talk to my team. I could imagine yes. Beta testing on Android is not as easy from a manage dev perspective as with iOS, like test flight, giving feedback and so on. It's a little bit smoother, I would say, less cost. But let me talk to them and maybe we can open a small group or something for beta testers. So let me talk to them and come back to the community.
Yes, perfect. Good. Then a more broader question. What strategy will you guys employ to attract normies? And how will you guys make Tor Wallet towards the public? And the second question is kind of tying into this. Is the Tor Wallet currently feels a bit Tor-y? There has been a mention that it would be right and proper to have a second, not neutral branded version. I think this was always the plan, right? So perhaps you can just reiterate on this plan for non-Tor branded retail app, which will be kind of the second app that you will offer.
Yeah, awesome. I tried to structure that question because I could talk a lot about all that. So first, how to attract normies. Define normies. If normies not yet DeFi degens, but already in crypto, or not even in crypto yet, yes, we plan to have a second app. It's still like we remember at the very beginning, I called it Coinbase Pro, which is like Tor Wallet, and then Coinbase, which is the easy, simple, that strips away all the complexity like impermanent loss, and those are terms that are not needed and need to be stripped away for the normies. So yes, we plan to have a second wallet. How we grow with Tor Wallet is a little bit different. With every other chain we connect, like Terra and Monero and Haven, and always get a community attached to you automatically, and then it's the ecosystem project that needs to proactively, reach out to them and track them to your wallet. And this is exactly what we will do. With the mission rewards and refer a friend program, I think we really have a launcher there for nice growth activities. If you refer a friend and you get TGT rewards for that, and your friend as well. So there are marketing and growth hacking activities in place to do that. When we come to the question, can we get some confirmation that the version will be like also the retail version will house TGT token? So yes, that's definitely my plan. I want to just give one thing of give one anecdote of complexity that you need to consider. With Tor Wallet, going forward, there are basically two ways. Either we stay as a registered company and we go with the regulation, which we are doing right now, and we want to. But we need to also consider that the world or financial regulator puts more pressure on DeFi in the future, and maybe you need to switch countries or whatever. It's one reason why Shapeshift, for example, went to completely delist its company and deregister it and went into a DAO. Now, if you're a DAO, fiat on-off ramp, like proper one, not with a third-party solution or so, is near impossible, right? Because they need a legal entity. And and they're not happy to work with it. So then this option would not be possible if you go that route. For Tor Wallet, not to have fiat on off ramp could be feasible if the retail version does have it. But then if you basically saying if you have two apps, one is a DAO and one stays in a registered company, there is not allowed to have like TGT cannot be the same in both apps at the same time. Then they're like, what is going on here? They will investigate and see that. So those are things where solutions can be found. And but I just, lay it out there. Those are strategic things you need to consider going forward. And I'm doing so. And the idea is, the idea is still that we have two apps, one for the pros, one for the normies. Everything is compliant. We do have on-off ramp, and TGT token is the token for both apps. That's the plan. But as you've seen now with the IDO, it's kind of a rocking ship and it's a moving target. So just stay tuned and give us a little bit of trust that we do our best.
Perfect, Marcel. I think this was a great question for the end. I've just one last, so we finish up with all the questions, and I think I can answer it myself. When will the roadmap be out, and can we have it inside the Tor Wallet app, not as a link, but as a real page? So you mentioned last time that you're thinking about having a visual roadmap and integrate it in the new website that is currently being built and probably released next year. And I think you will just take the suggestion to integrate it into the app as a feature request and discuss it with the team, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I just saw today the first draft of the new website. I think it looks hot. I like it, and we're gonna have a roadmap there, and I take it into account to have it in the app as well.
Okay. So I think we answered all the questions and there's no hand being raised. So if somebody wants to ask a question now, then please do it now. Otherwise, we will hear each other next week. And thank you for being here. Thank you for asking your questions, also the tough ones, and enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you, Marcel, for your time.
Awesome. Thanks a lot for your time as well. And see each other soon. Talk to each other soon.
I see Polski raising his hand, so let's give him the chance.
Yeah, yes, one. All right, I give him. Yeah.
Hello?
Here you go. Hi there.
Hey, man.
Okay, wait, I just need to put speaker on. Okay, great. So, I don't know if this has been answered because I've been busy, doing some homeworks, but I want to know, how will the two tiers coexist for the NFTs and the TGT tiers?
Basically they will just coexist. I think it's super interesting from a business perspective to have this additional layer of NFT holders. So everyone is familiar in an app to have different tiers. Everyone knows that. And you need to stake a certain amount of tokens. Crypto.com does it very well. Everyone knows it. Now suddenly you can also buy an NFT, but once you have the NFT, you don't need to have the TGTs anymore, right? You do that just once and then you're an NFT holder. And this NFT you might be able to or need to buy on a second market because it's already sold out. There might be some hype around it, then price goes up and so on. So it's just another tool from a business perspective to play around and give the community more options. So basically now you have different kind of options. If your goal is to reduce your trading fees, you can decide, do you want to stake TGT permanently, right? Then you have kind of your funds locked, but at the same time you earn TGT APY? Or do you just want to go to the open market and buy an NFT or once and for all, and then you have the low fees, right? So I think they can coexist very well at the same time.
Yes, and I was a little bit more wondering about, like, for instance, you know how the TGT Soldier NFT, it will represent like tier 1 and the commander would be representing the other tier, right? But we only have 2 tiers and 3 NFT tiers, so like, how will that work? Will the general NFT represent tier 1 or tier 2?
They're not representing each other. Basically, you have six tiers. You have the standard tier, which is like you have nothing. Then you can have the community tier. You can have the community plus tier, or you can be a soldier, a general, or a commander. And always the highest counts. If you have a commander NFT and you are staking also 5,000 TGT to get your API, but obviously the commander has 0 fees, trading fees, whereas for the community you get 0.3, right? And then obviously the better counts for you. So then you have 0 fees from the commander NFT.
Okay, thanks for that. And Arkan, if that's how we say your name, did you ask the roadmap question I wrote, or did I just miss it?
No, we just had it, right? Roadmap is coming with the new website that's probably launching beginning of next year. And there will be a visual roadmap on the website. And Marcel is taking your input to the team, which said kind of having it in the app directly, not only as a link to the website.
Okay, that's great. Okay, thanks, guy. That's all from me.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you all. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.